one of the things that we wrote about in the book, The Cyber Elephant in the Boardroom, was a simple framework that we called the 5 pillars of security. And it breaks down virtually every organization's fraud and risk profile into 5 common areas. And those are physical, people, data, infrastructure, and crisis management. Let me just address them very briefly. Physical, this is all about access controls, access to buildings, access to vehicle fleets, access to files, etc. People, this is not just about your employees, but also contractors, partners, third parties, visitors into your offices, etc. Data can be customer data, it can be employee information, it can be trade secrets, intellectual property. 4 is infrastructure, which is what most people think about when they think about cybersecurity. The networks, the website, the applications, the software that runs the digital enterprise. And then 5 is crisis management. Unfortunately, almost every organization will endure some type of crisis. And when it comes to cybersecurity, this particular framework recommends doing some planning, incident response planning, business continuity and disaster recovery. Build those plans, but most importantly, document those plans and then train your staff, ideally with simulations, so your staff knows exactly what to do. And one of the things that I heard Bruce Zagaris talk about in his session was how the banking industry in the US has invested a lot in training even just tellers and folks that work in customer service so they can recognize fraud. It's the same thing when thinking about crisis management for larger enterprises as well. So the framework of the 5 pillars of cybersecurity outlined in the book is a relatively simple and straightforward way for almost any organization to understand how their business can be potentially compromised. In my opinion, the biggest threat that we face moving forward, I don't think it's artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is just all software, whether it's the data, the model, or the software itself. But what Microsoft has decided to do is to try to make a game out of educating all of their many software engineers on security. And we are the prime vendor that helps them do that with their Microsoft Strike program. And we actually utilize one of our software security cyber ranges, and we help them play a game or a tournament where they can hack a vulnerable application in a safe sandbox, learn as they're doing it, and set up some nice competitive elements to make it fun. And it's very similar to the simulations that I was alluding to a little bit earlier. Here you're just simulating maybe it's a banking website, it's an e-commerce website, but it's got security vulnerabilities in it. And the best way to understand how to defend something is to learn how it's attacked and exploited. And that's exactly what Microsoft is doing.
Super. What is the name of the program?
It's called Microsoft Strike. That's the brand that they use internally to up-level the security of all of their engineering organization as part of Microsoft Engineering Excellence, or MSEE. Well, in a word, I would say training. And it sounds boring, and people might roll their eyes. Oh gosh, training, who wants to be trained? Nobody likes training. But you can make it fun. You can, just like Microsoft has done, you can make it a game, you can run simulations, you can have tournaments, you can give prizes. But most importantly, it has to come from the top. Executive buy-in and sponsorship is needed, and executives need to really understand and care about fraud and cybersecurity and the risk that it poses to employees, customers, and business operations. So you do need that executive buy-in, but you can make training fun. And Microsoft has proved this with their Strike program. It's been award-winning in the industry. And education, and part of what we're doing here, getting the word out and educating people on the potentials of fraud. This is just one of the many, many pieces that all of us can use to learn about cybersecurity and improve our hygiene just a little bit. Thank you for mentioning that. It is called See Yourself in Cyber, Security Careers Beyond Hacking. And I use the concept of the color wheel to explain all of the many cybersecurity jobs that exist. Similar to military operations, we might be familiar with red team and blue team concepts. Red teams attack, blue teams defend. But a lot of us don't recognize what happens when you start to blend them. You blend the two, it becomes a purple team. But even the non-security first jobs like IT jobs and software development jobs, they're basically yellow teams, they're builders. You can teach them offensive and defensive techniques to make orange teams and green teams. And then of course, there's many other jobs that benefit from the security industry. So what I want to do is I want to try to elevate the awareness of cybersecurity as a career field that doesn't necessarily require a technical degree, or you don't have to be a hacker to have a lucrative career. And it all plays into a little bit of the diversity and inclusion that we were talking about earlier. I want to make sure that organizations understand how to properly advertise and write job responsibilities and roles to attract more diverse talent, and then encourage those diverse populations to go after cybersecurity jobs.
And I think this is really important, especially given the remote workforce and the deep fakes, and the technologies continue to advance, but so do the scammers and the wrongdoers. So it is something that every person, it should be in every university, we should have courses, core classes that teach individuals so that they're ready when they need to get out there and into the workforce.
I agree with you, and I would love if we did. Unfortunately, and it goes right back to the point we were talking about earlier with software, most universities still don't teach security as an aspect of software engineering, and it's infuriating. So it's incumbent upon us as an industry to not only make software engineers, and there's millions of them worldwide, aware about the importance of security, but to train them on it and how to incorporate security as another aspect of software quality, just like functionality, performance, reliability, etc. Yes, add a second factor authentication to anything you do.